Hello, I'm Jonathan Bear, and I'm an astrologer, and I'm here today to explain to you where we are in the universe, where we came from, and where we're going through studying the zodiac wheel. Now, I have to apologize, I don't have the greatest camera. It's the camera built into my notebook, so I understand that you can't make out my wheel too well. I'll explain to you what's on the wheel, and you'll basically catch on what's going on through the explanation. So on the wheel, there's all 12 signs. The first sign is Aries. The second sign is Taurus. The third sign is Gemini. The fourth sign is Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. The other thing I have written on the sign is ASC, MC, DSC, and IC. What those mean is dawn, ascending, when the sun is rising. MC is the height of the sun in the day. DSC, descending, dusk, when the sun falls at night, and this would be the middle of the night, the lowest, when the sun's at the lowest point in our day. So with that, the zodiac wheel can be divided into quarters, pairing them in groups of 3. It can also be divided in halves, which is a day and night. There's also east and west, but I'm not really going to get into that part of the wheel today. So I'm going to basically talk about our yearly cycle and our 26,000 year cycle. So during the year, we go through all 12 signs. 12 months, 12 signs. And it goes from 1 to 12. Actually, the beginning of our year, isn't really on a line, but would be up here. Anyhow, we follow the number placement of the signs during the year. But in our 26,000 year cycle, we actually go the opposite way when we're traveling through the ages. We go from 12 to 1. I don't know if there's really a beginning or an end. I think it's just continuous. It's ever going. But anyhow, where I'm going to start is I'm going to start with Pisces, since we're in the Piscean age right now. Now, Pisces is the fish. It's also somewhere about around 2,000 years ago is approximately the beginning. No one really knows the exact date of the beginning of the Piscean age, but basically, somewhere around 2,000. I personally think about 2,150 years. We're approaching somewhere around that mark, because I am a firm believer that we are right on the cusp of entering into the age of Aquarius. The other thing about the Piscean age is it's known, we started counting the days, it had a lot to do with Christ consciousness. I'm not going to get into religion, let's just look at Christ consciousness not from a religious aspect, but from a metaphysical, spiritual aspect. Anyhow, so the interesting thing about that story, the new sun, or whatever, happened, December 25th, which is just after the winter solstice, when the days start getting longer again. The renewal of the sun cycle. Coincidence, synchronicity, whatever you want to call it. The other interesting point that I want to point out is it was also the renewal of a much larger sun cycle when the sun rose out of Aries into Pisces, where I had mentioned earlier, ascending dawn, right? So that's basically where we're beginning. Now, Pisces is a water sign. It's about emotion, and it's about self-sacrifice, the Christ consciousness, self-sacrifice. So it's about triumphing over our emotions and doing a self-sacrifice so we can come into unity. Aquarius is about community, about unity, about coming together. When we come together, we can build something solid, a new structure, a foundation. Capricorn, when we have a good solid foundation, we're at the height of our development, of our beliefs and philosophies can all start, to transform. Scorpio. Once we transform, however, we then need to find our footing again. We need to gain balance, which is Libra. After Libra, we're now descending. We're back into the this is the long cycle, right? Through the ages that I'm speaking right now, not the year. We're descending back into the darkness where, Virgo, work, service, where we have to help each other out again, and in this darkness, we need some leaders to kind of help us guide our way through this darkness. Leaders or rulership, Leo, the king of the jungle. Now, sometimes, rulership would kind of be more the shadow side of leadership, and through this, anyhow, we can gain abundance. Cancer being the crab. The crab lives in the part of the ocean where the waves brings the food in, so we can gain abundance. But through this abundance, some may end up with more than others, which then creates duality, inequity. When things are unequal, we then have to reassess what we value, right? And in value is associated with beauty and wealth. Through beauty and wealth becomes passion, through beauty and wealth can form jealousy, which is, Mars rules Aries, which is war. So things can become very brutal. But anyhow, we have to triumphant over the passions to rise again, as we are currently in Pisces, and sacrifice, these passions that we have to come back together. It's good to have passions. It brings us in a positive. It can bring us into a very positive direction, but when it gets to an extreme, we have to, know when to let go. We have to, the passions, we become emotional about our passions, emotions, Pisces, and we have to sacrifice our own emotions to, come back into unity. Now, in the yearly cycle, we actually go the opposite way, and currently we're in Virgo season. We're at the tail end of Virgo season with the sun, but the moon, the moon at the end of the month, or sorry, around the 20th, I think it's the 19th, will be in Virgo. So even though the sun will be moving into Libra, we're still going to be carrying a lot of the Virgo energy, which is about the sign of where we're separating the wheat from the stalk, taking what is useful and disregarding what isn't, doing the work, waking up to details to come back into balance, to to transform our ideas to before it culminates into something solid for what we want to build the following year, right? So yeah, like in our history, our known history is approximately 13,000 years ago when the pyramids were built, and it's said that at first the pyramids were being built out of service, and that's Virgo, and the timing seems about right. But then supposedly slavery kind of came, right? Rulership came, and then so you could kind of see the placements going on. The last quarter that we came out of before the age of Pisces was Gemini, Taurus, and Aries. So Gemini is Mercury, Taurus is Venus, and Aries is Mars. Those are the personal planets. Gemini being the twins. The twins are Venus and Mars, right? So out of the duality came these two personal aspects of us, right? Thoughts, value, heart, and passion, will, I guess, or anyhow, and this quarter can be seen playing out in Pisces as we're ascending and triumphing over our emotions, our passions and our values, to ascend through self-sacrifice. I did this video a couple times already. I can't remember everything, if I've said everything in this video that I wanted to say. I had my fire alarm for some reason go off in the last one. I didn't really understand why. So yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with what I've been saying so far. I guess I'll say a little bit about right now where we are and where we're heading. I kind of want to give not a warning, because there's nothing to fear about, but I want to give you a heads up for preparation, right? Saturn at the winter solstice, we're at the equinox, just about at the equinox point right now, so we're we got the last quarter here. Get out of here. Sorry, that was a dog of mine, one of my dogs. Saturn moves into his own sign of Capricorn, which is about structure, and he'll be there for the next approximately 3 years. In the year 2020, where I say humanity will gain clear vision, 2020 vision, Saturn moves into Aquarius during that year, back into Saturn, and then at the very end of the year or very beginning of 2021, then moves and stays in Aquarius. So in that year of 2020, it goes from something solid to earth to air, where things lighten up back to solid. So whether we see it or feel it, that clarity will come into play. But 2020 is still a few years away, right? So at the end of this year, at the winter solstice, things start to solidify. So we have right now a time to separate what is good from what isn't, to create balance so we could transform our ideals. And those ideas could then solidify. If we don't do that work, if we don't prep and become conscious, things can become very difficult. But things can also, if you do the work and grow and transform, in this last quarter, then things can be wonderful for you when Saturn comes into Capricorn. There's some really interesting things while Saturn's in Capricorn. Jupiter will be there. He'll also be transiting Pluto, transformation. Pluto doesn't leave Capricorn until the year 2024, a few months before the next great eclipse. So the eclipse that we just had, and the eclipse in 2024, is a 7-year window that we have. And that, to me, once that next eclipse, once Pluto leaves Capricorn and that eclipse happens, to me, that's where we are now in the age of Aquarius. We are currently in the golden age, but we haven't woken up from that dream, Pisces, the dream. We haven't woken up yet to us being in the light. We're still, we have sleep in our eyes from the 13,000 year time in the darkness that we just spent in. So it's really interesting. The more you understand astrology, the more you could understand history and different things like that. Understand reality even. So I think that's that. Is there anything else I wanted to say before that? I said, between the eclipses is a 7-year window. There's lots of windows, right? Every month you're in a different window. Let's use rabbit holes, or Alice in Wonderland goes through these doors, and each one is smaller and smaller. I believe that's the case. But it doesn't always have to be smaller. It's just perception. It could be bigger. So yeah. This is the next 3 months is a window. Like I said, it's divided in quarters. So there's lots of windows. There's lots of opportunities. You can make mistakes. There's other windows. Don't worry about missing a doorway, a portal. There's others to come. Sometimes it can become harder. But, you know, as things become more solid, things can also become more evident. And when things become more evident, they're clear, you know, they become clear, and we can, you know, start to um, see where we need to go and where we're heading, and whatnot. So I hope you guys got a good understanding of. I hope, you know, I did a good job of explaining what I wanted to say today. I apologize again for the camera not being very clear. I hope, you know, I made up for that. I know a lot of you were probably looking around me and seeing these interesting walking sticks. This is my art. This was my studio. I kind of transformed it into a space where I can do astrology videos as well. I thought it great because it just gives a nice atmosphere. I'll give you a close up of some of my work here. If you're interested in any of you know, my work, you could contact me and I could send you individual pictures or whatnot and prices of the different work I have. So no trees were harmed. All the trees, all these staffs or canes or whatnot, came from previously deceased wood. Now these knots that you see in the wood, they're natural. They're called burls. They're actually rare, but strangely enough, when it seems to me like when you find one, you find a bunch of them. They seem to grow together. And so there's an area near me where a mine is being developed, and so I was walking through the woods before they clear cut and all that, and I found these trees. I am debating about going and getting some of the live ones to preserve them and honor them before the clear cut. I have mixed feelings about that, but you know, it's possibly an honorable thing to do to preserve the natural beauty before mining companies come and exploit the land. Here we have a lynx skull on this beautiful, unique shaped piece of wood. Nice amethyst crystals on here. These are deer antlers. Kind of looks like a bat or a dragon ready to take off. The lynx skull has a arrowhead acting as a tongue. How I got this lynx skull was I went to a festival a few years ago. I had someone babysitting my dogs. A few months after, I was in my freezer and there was a bag in the back of it, and I dug it out and was like, "What's this?" And inside was the lynx skull. It was still covered in flesh, and I cleaned it up and mounted it on this staff. So I'm glad those my dog sitter forgot that there. I made a peace pipe over here, and just a couple other other work, a little bit more work. I hung a t-shirt in the window. It was affecting the light for the camera today. A native inspired piece that I used some bull horns, and I'm not sure what kind of bone this is, but some kind of bone to make armor or chest plate and whatnot. And so yeah, this is my studio. That was my video. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the talk. I'm hopefully going to get back into writing regularly and doing videos again. So thank you very much, and see you all again soon. Have a good day. Bye.